What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Mexico. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card. We are in Mexico City. We are out of the Apex once again, which is always nice. But yeah, we have a card that's really stacked from top to bottom. 13 fights, and it kind of has that pay-per-view feel. We have two 5-round fights. You got the main event, Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. We got Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, also a 5-round fight. And just a stacked card, like I said. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Looking forward to breaking it down. Before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a favor, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. There you'll find all my other DraftKings content, targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings. I'm doing prize picks on there as well, so yeah, check it out, dfsbythenumbers.com. DFS article was released last night, so yeah, pretty much everything out for the most part, ready to go for this week, ready for weigh-ins, and then going to probably build lineups either tonight or after weigh-ins tomorrow, so looking forward to it. Also do want to shout out Prize Picks. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. We'll touch on our play of the week later in the show. Last week we hit the Robert Whitaker less on the fantasy score. We'll see if we can keep the ball rolling here this week. If you guys want to check out Prize Picks, use promo code DFSBTN and get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Helps me, helps you. Free money. Check it out. All right. I say we get into it, guys. And as always, we're going to start with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. This week we have a couple big ones here. The first big one is going to be Manuel Torres going against Chris Duncan, minus 700 for the fight doesn't go the distance. And this is a week where I'm going to be pretty much living in the mid-range this week. I mean, there's a lot of mid-range fights that are sticking out, and this is one of them. Manuel Torres, 16 fights, 15 of those 16 fights have ended in the very first round. And if you've watched this guy, you can kind of see why. I mean, I watched this guy's entire career in literally like 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. This guy goes after it early and often. He's a killer be killed type fighter. He's been finished in both of his losses. I think this fight does finish. I'm kind of leaning Torres early. You know, I think he has early finishing upside, or maybe Duncan late as well, and I think Duncan potentially has some grappling upside as well. We've seen Duncan go to the grappling, the wrestling a lot more in his last couple fights, and that would be the path here. I mean, you don't really want to stand and bang with a guy that is, you know, Manuel Torres. It's just probably not the smart idea. So I'm kind of leaning Torres here, 8,300. I think there's a lot of value in terms of that price tag just because this guy's like minus 200 on the money line though, or now. But yeah, Chris Duncan, he definitely has a path here, and if he can survive those first 5 minutes, which will be tough, I can see him winning this fight in the round 2 or round 3. So yeah, good fight to target and a fun fight at that. Next, we have a fight that hopefully happens. Seems like I've talked about this fight 50 times now, but we got Edgar Chairez going against Daniel Lacerda, and yeah, I think this fight definitely does finish. Minus 600 for the fight doesn't go to decision. Daniel Lacerda's never seen a third round in his entire career. I don't really think that changes, and kind of like the last fight in a sense where I think if Lacerda's winning this fight, it's in the first round, especially in high elevation. I don't see Daniel Lacerda having any success past the first round, honestly, like the first couple minutes of the fight. Whereas Edgar Chairez, I think he can potentially win in the first round as well, but if this fight does reach the second, it's all Edgar Chairez, and I think he's live to finish then in the second round. I don't see this fight going to the third. Going to have a decent amount of Chairez in terms of the 9K range. He's one of my favorite guys up there, but you know, in terms of a pump play, a dart throw this week, the ultimate dart throw is always and always will be Daniel Lacerda, because if he does win, it is probably in the first 2 minutes. Next, we got the co-main event. Yair Rodriguez going against Brian Ortega. We got Yair Rodriguez, 8,500. Brian Ortega is 7,700. The fight doesn't go minus 200. Another fight that I do think probably finishes, although, you know, both these guys are very tough. It's a fight where another fight in the mid-range, a fight where I don't have confidence in really either guy. It's kind of weird. You know, these guys fought almost 2 years ago, and when they fought, Brian Ortega was a decent-sized dog. I think it was like minus 170, minus 180. Now he's an underdog. He's like a plus 150 underdog here, plus 140 underdog. Striker versus grappler matchup. It all comes down to who gets their game plan going. Is Yair able to stuff the takedowns, keep him on the feet? If so, he probably beats the crap out of Ortega and potentially finishes them. But if Ortega does get the fight down to the mat, you know, Brian Ortega is very live to submit pretty much everybody in the division. So yeah, another fight that I'm really targeting this week. And then lastly, we got Raoni Barcelos going against Christian Quinones. Another minus 200 fight doesn't go to decision. Another great fight to target. Another fight in the mid-range. This is a Christian Quinones fight. Christian Quinones is a killer be killed fighter. We've seen that thus far in his UFC career. Two fights that have finished in the first round. He's been finished in all 4 of his losses. He's been subbed twice. He's been knocked out twice. Jaime Barcelos is probably the more skilled fighter here, but Jaime Barcelos is 36, almost 37 years old. He's taken a ton of damage throughout his career, and Quinones is very dangerous. So I think Barcelos is definitely live here to win this fight. I think he's the better fighter, but if the durability does not hold up, yeah, Christian Quinones is definitely a live dog at 7,600. I think both guys are live for a finish, whether it's a Hayani submission win or it's a Christian Quinones knockout win. I think both those outcomes are in play. Another great fight to target. I love all 4 of these fights from a DraftKings perspective. Getting into the core plays here, Brandon Moreno, 8,800. Yeah, I like Moreno here quite a bit. 8,800, especially in terms of cash. This is a fight that I think probably does go the full 25 minutes. Brandon Moreno's tough as nails. 30 fights for this guy. Never been finished inside the distance. Next level durable. And it's just crazy considering the amount of tough guys and dangerous guys that this guy has fought throughout his career. Nobody's ever stopped him, and I don't think that changes here. And on top of that, I think Moreno has a ton of upside as well. Moreno has a clear path to victory here with the wrestling, the takedowns, the grappling. That is a hole in Brandon Royval's game, who sports a 40% takedown defense. So, yeah, the path here for Moreno is definitely there. I think he pays off this price tag and more, and he's definitely one of my favorite plays this week. Yair Rodriguez, 8,500. A fight that I'm not extremely confident in, but what I am confident in is I like this fight a lot from a DraftKings perspective. We have 5 rounds to work with. We have very affordable price tags here. And Yair Rodriguez, he is going to be my preferred play in this co-main event, just because we haven't seen Brian Ortega in a while. And on top of that, Brian Ortega, next level grappler, but just never really has had the best wrestling. And if Ortega's not able to get the fight down to the mat, I just think it's going to be one-way traffic on the feet. I love Yair striking. I think he can really beat up Ortega and potentially get that stoppage as well. So Yair, he is my preferred play in that co-main, but it's a fight that, like we talked about, should be targeted both sides. Manuel Torres, 8,300. We talked about him a little bit as well. This is a guy that probably is going to be very high owned. He's 8,300 on DraftKings, but now like minus 200 on the money line. Money's been pouring in on Manuel Torres. He's a very popular play this week, and he's very dangerous. This guy has 14 wins. 13 of those 14 wins come in the very first round. I do have massive concerns if this fight does reach the second, but that's not why we're playing him. We're playing him for him to go out there and finish Chris Duncan in the very first round, and if he does that, he's going to smash this 8,300 price tag. And then last in the core plays is going to be Muhammad Naimov. He is 9,100. And another play where, there's a ton of value at this price tag. He should be priced like 9,600 this week, according to his money line, which is now, I think, like minus 600 just about. Money's been pouring in on Naimov. He's a very popular parlay piece, and rightfully so. He's going against Eric Silva, who's been finished in both of his losses, has not fought the best competition, does not have the best cardio, and Naimov's a dangerous guy. Naimov has really good striking, a ton of power, can grapple a little bit as well, and we've seen Silva submitted in both of his losses there. So I think Naimov, definitely a core play for me. Definitely a core play for probably a lot of people, considering we're getting this guy at 9,100, and he's about minus 600 on the money line now. Moving on to the GPP plays here. Raul Rosas Jr., he is 9,000. I like Raul Rosas Jr. here a decent amount, just because he has a ton of upside. He's going against Ricky Turcios, and I think it's a great matchup for him. I know people are very low on Raul Rosas Jr. ever since that Christian Rodriguez loss, but this is Ricky Turcios, right? Ricky Turcios has, I think, less than 45% takedown defense for Turcios. He was taken down several times by Brady Heastan, and more concerning, he was taken down 7 times by Kevin Natividad, who's now cut, and that fight actually went to a split decision, which is just a terrible look. Raul Rosas Jr. is going to have no problem whatsoever getting a takedown here, and when he does, he's dangerous on the mat. He's finished the majority of his wins in round 1 or round 2, and I think that could definitely be in play here. We've seen we've seen Ricky Turcios knocked out before. I could see a TKO here. I could see a sub. And if this fight does go the full 15 minutes, Raul Rosas Jr. is going to rack up takedown after takedown after takedown, and as long as his cardio does hold up, he should put up a massive score here in a dominant decision win or a finish win. So I like Raul Rosas Jr. quite a bit. Edgar Chairez, 9,300. We talked about him a tad. He's going against Daniel Lacerda, and Lacerda fights, they must be targeted at all cost. He's expensive, but if he wins, it's going to be a finish, and it's going to probably come within the first 7.5 minutes here. Edgar Chairez has a 100% finish rate. He's never been knocked out, which I think is very important here. He has been subbed twice, but never been knocked out nonetheless, so a tough guy. Daniel Lacerda has been finished 5 times in all of his losses, And yeah, I think Charas gets the job done here. I think he gets it done pretty dominantly inside the distance. I think Lacerda is probably going to gas out in the first couple minutes, and Charas is going to finish him late round 1 or round 2 there. Jaime Barcelos, 8,600. Yeah, the path is definitely there for Barcelos this week with the grappling. This guy's an elite BJJ black belt. We don't get to see it a ton, but when he does get fights down to the mat, like, he's a very, very good grappler, and I think it would be very wise to do that here against Christian Quinones, who just makes a ton of mistakes on the mat. You know, Quinones has been submitted twice, and you can kind of see why. And yeah, Barcelos is just on another level. It's just, will he go to the wrestling? Will he not? We'll see. If he doesn't, could he still win this fight? Sure, but you know, I think he does have a clear path in terms of getting this fight down on the ground and potentially getting a sub here. If this fight was like 3 years ago, I'd be all over Barcelos, but the age at this point, the durability at this point, kind of scares me off a little bit. But if he does win, I think it's a dominant win and probably a finish as well. Ronaldo Rodriguez, which is Luis Rodriguez on DraftKings. They put him as Ronaldo Rodriguez, which I think his name is Ronaldo Luis Rodriguez. So yeah, so Luis Rodriguez here, he's 8,000 going against Denise Bondar. I actually think this is a pretty sneaky fight to target, a fight that has sneaky finishing upside as well. Denise Bondar is a killer be killed fighter. This guy has I think like, I don't know. So there's conflicting records. On Tapology, it's 23 fights. On SureDog, it's like 16 fights. We'll go with SureDog's record, which is 14-2. He has been to decision, I think, only twice in his career. And one of the decisions he went to was in his last fight against Carlos Hernandez, where, I don't know, he got slammed down. There was a head clash on the slam, and he just took like 10 of the most brutal follow-up shots you've ever seen. I mean, he was knocked out, right? So you could call that a knockout loss if you want. So in my opinion, he's pretty much only been to decision once in 16 to 21 fights, whatever record you want to go with. But yeah, killer be killed fighter there with Denise Bondar. Luis Rodriguez is a guy that he throws with very bad intentions. He has a lot of power, and he has a slick submission game as well. He'll go for the guillotine, and we've seen Bondar put himself into bad spots. Most notably was against Malcolm Gordon in their first fight as well. I could see Luis Rodriguez maybe landing a big shot late here. I could see Luis Rodriguez snatching up a submission late here if Bondar does slow down. And if Bondar does get his grappling game going, he has finished the majority of his wins by submission. 71% submission rate for Bondar for what it's worth. So, sneaky fight to target. I am more so on the Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez side at 8,000. You're saving 200. On top of that, he is now the slight favorite, minus 120. But a good fight overall, I think, to target that I think is going to be pretty low owned this week. Moving on to the prize picks play of the week. Last week we hit Whitaker less on the fantasy score. This week I'm taking a more on the Yasmin Jaregi fantasy score, 87.5. I'm taking the more. I mean, she's a minus 600 favorite. On FanDuel Sportsbook right now, she's like minus 770. You know, she's expected to go out there and beat the brakes off of Sam Hughes. A lot of people are on Sam Hughes. I'm not one of those people. I think it's a dominant win. I think Yasmin Jaregi goes out there and just lands a ton of strikes to the face of the very hittable Sam Hughes. I like the striking of Yasmin Jaregi. I like the power of Yasmin Jaregi. I think she's live for a knockdown, a knockout. I could see a late stoppage for Jaregi as well. And on top of that, you do get points on prize picks for stuffing takedowns. And, I mean, it would be very wise for Sam Hughes to go for takedowns. So I could see Yasmin Jaregi, on top of landing just a ton of significant strikes, stuffing a lot of takedowns, like 5, 6, 7 takedowns as well. She stuffed a lot against Yasmin Lucindo as well. So, yeah, give me this more on the fantasy score. I think she crushes the score in a it could be a decision win, could be a dominant decision win, could be a finish, but I think she does hit this more, 87.5. If you guys want to check it out, use promo code DFSBTN on Prize Picks, 100% deposit match. Moving on, we have our live dogs here. There's a lot of live dogs this week, and nobody like that's extremely cheap. I think between 7,400 to 8,000, there's a lot of live dogs. We talked about Luis Ronaldo Rodriguez already. But yeah, Jesus Aguilar is very live dog. 7,800. He has grappling upside. He has wrestling upside. He's taken on Mateus Mendonça, who I don't trust the cardio. I don't trust the IQ especially. Mateus Mendonça is making a ton of mistakes in the mat, and you can't do that at this level against Jesus Aguilar especially, who is a very good grappler in his own right. So Aguilar is going to have the wrestling, the cardio, and as long as he can survive like the first round or so, I think he could take over and get a finish late. So Aguilar, very live dog. Ryan Ortega, live dog, 7,700 in a striker versus grappler matchup. Yeah, if he gets this fight down to the mat, he could potentially submit Yair Rodriguez. Like I said, I'm personally picking Yair Rodriguez to win, but yeah, Ortega's live. Ortega's definitely live. Money's pouring in on Ortega as well. It looks like, just checked the line a second ago, it looks like Ortega is now like plus 130 on some books. So yeah, money coming in on him. 5-round fight to work with. I don't mind Ortega as a live dog. Christian Quinones, another live dog here, going against 36, almost 37-year-old Hani Barcelos, who the durability is a little bit iffy. And what Quinones will do is just come out there and fight like a madman. Kill or be killed style, willing to eat one to give one. And he does have a lot of power. I do question the durability in his own right. I do question the submission defense, but he has a ton of power regardless, and he's down to go out there and stand and bang, get in a fun fight. And yeah, he's a live dog against like I said, 36-year-old Hani Barcelos. Another live dog, Claudio Puelles, 7,500, kind of like the Brian Ortega fight. If he gets this fight down to the mat, there's a good chance he submits Fares Ziam, who has 3 submission losses in his career. The problem with Puelles is not the best wrestling, but he has ways to get it down to the mat. So yeah, I think Puelles, if he does win, it's a submission at some point in this fight. Don't hate Claudio Puelles as well. And then even like Brandon Royval, didn't even talk about Brandon Royval. He's in a 5-round fight. I don't really like him to win this fight, but he's in a 5-round fight nonetheless. Francisco Prado, 7,300. He has a 100% finish rate. If he wins, it's probably a finish. Chris Duncan, we talked about him a little bit. Like, there's a lot of live dogs between like 7,300 to 8,000. I think a couple of these are definitely going to come through. It just comes down to, which ones. Moving on to the pump plays, the ultimate pump play, the ultimate dart throw, Daniel Da Silva Lacerda, 6,900. If he wins, it's a finish. It's a finish within the first half of the first round, and he's going to be on the optimal lineup. Simple as that. Do I think he wins? No, I'll never pick him to win a fight, but you can't ignore him on DraftKings. Like, if he does win this fight, he's going to put up well over 100 points just with the style he brings to the table. Crazy, all action-packed style for the first couple minutes. If he wins, it's going to be round 1. So yeah, Daniel Da Silva Lacerda is absolutely a pump play this week. And then fades Fares Ziam, 8,700. Yeah, fading Ziam. Maybe he gets a late finish, but no grappling upside. I don't think there's really much finishing upside at all. Like I said, if anything, late. And he's just so low volume on top of that. I think there's much better plays. We talked about how stacked this mid-range is. So there's plays I like that are much cheaper than Ziam. There's plays I like that are more expensive than Ziam. I'm going to be fading Ziam this week. And there you guys have it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys could, leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Most of the content is out for this week. And, yeah, prize picks as well. So, yeah, that is about it. I'll be going live Friday, I think 4 Eastern Friday. And then I'll also be going live Saturday before the fights, I think 5 Eastern, 2 hours before the prelim. So check it out. Subscribe to it so you don't miss out on the content. And best of luck for UFC Mexico. Should be a fun card. See you guys later.